Hey everyone, it's Miss McClellan. Today we're going to talk about industrialization and some of the things that may have caused it. Industrialization is just the process of moving from farm to factory, when a society goes from depending largely on farming to depending more on manufacturing and industry. The first development that led to industrialization that we're going to talk about is steam power. So James Watt, he was a guy that made like a vital breakthrough in making steam power sort of what we know it as today. He made an improved model for the steam engine that transformed industry and transportation. You had other people who sort of built off of Watt's models, and because of this, steam power began the process of revolutionizing agriculture and industry. It was the first step towards modern agricultural machinery. It was applied to machines in factories, and so there was a huge increase in productivity and the range of jobs that could be performed by machine rather than by hand. Yes. Steam also enabled railways to be built, so you could carry goods and people for longer distances and more cheaply because they were being powered with steam. You also had steam ships that could travel long distances, but they were very expensive to use. So with steam power, not only are you making things faster in the factories and you're harvesting things faster on the farms, but also you're transporting faster. So you can trade more because you can transport goods faster on trains, and you can also travel personally faster. You could travel longer distances for cheaper to visit someone or family or whatever. Like I said earlier, steam power did eventually spread to continental Europe, so not Great Britain, not the island, but it spread to places like France and Belgium and Germany. And coal mines in France and Germany used Watt's steam engines, and that increased trade because it helped, produce more coal faster. Another development that we're going to talk about is the rise of railways. So early railways, they used a method of mounting the carts on wooden rails, and the carts were pulled by horses. But around 1750, iron started to be used for the rails instead of wood. But the true railway revolution started when engineers started to use steam power to transport the trains. That's when things really started to improve. He was a British inventor and a mining engineer named Richard Trevithick. He's been called the father of steam railways. He used steam from his new high-pressure steam engine to power railway engines in Wales and other places, and his invention just really spread and completely changed the way that railways were used. You also had another guy named George Stephenson. He built short railways with very powerful locomotives. That's like your engine. And this is sometimes referred to as the first modern railway. The price of coal started to drop. It dropped by more than 50% because the railways were provided cheaper, faster, and more efficient transportation. They could carry larger loads than previous methods had offered. In 1830, George Stephenson, he built a railway between the major towns of Liverpool and Manchester, and this is the first railway with a twin track. So that meant that trains could run more often, more frequently. And soon other railway engineers like Isambard Kingdom Brunel were contributing to all these tracks that ran across England and Scotland. So all of Great Britain was just covered with railway tracks. You could get anywhere. It was very, very easy to trade. The expansion of railways, and as you know, the expansion of railways led to more money because you were trading more. It's good for the economy. But it wasn't a steady progress. When the economy was doing well and people had money to invest, the railways would expand. But then there were some years where the economy wasn't doing so great and people didn't have enough money to invest in the railways. So it was sort of like a cycle of boom and bust. But nevertheless, by the late 1800s, the railway system in Britain covered most of the country. All right, quickly we're going to talk about some developments in mainland Europe. And again, when I say mainland Europe, I mean the continent of Europe, because Great Britain it's part of Europe, but it's like an island. So we're talking about places like France and Germany. Fewer private investors in France and Germany were willing to risk their money in the construction of railways. And for this reason, the expansion of railways in those countries was slower than it was in Great Britain. And a lot of their railway construction depended on government backing. So you didn't have individuals giving money, so they depended on the government to pay for it. But for the first half of the 1800s, most governments in Europe were focusing on canal and river transport. So they didn't have a lot of money to invest in the railways. And sometimes the railways development was met with opposition from landowners who made a living transporting goods with horses and carts. So they didn't want the railways to develop because that would put them out of a job. Rail expansion really only began in France after Napoleon III became emperor in 1852. He saw the advantages of a big railway network, and he authorized the state bank to finance it. Even so, by the end of the 19th century, France's railway network was still much, much smaller than Great Britain's. Railways appeared in Germany in the late 1830s. They were influenced a lot by Belgium, who they were also launching plans for railways. Government involvement helped a lot with the development of railways in Germany. The King of Prussia, Friedrich Wilhelm IV, he was a railway enthusiast, and the establishment of the railways in Prussia encouraged the leaders of other German states to establish railways. And by 1850, you all know that the German economy had been changed because they established the Zollverein, where states were trading with each other. And so that was another reason to establish more railways. And by 1850, Eastern and Western Germany were connected by railways. Germany was also a great place for railways because it was centrally located in Europe, so it was very easy for them to trade with other countries. All right, that is it for today. Make sure that you write your notes, your summary, and your questions, and I'll see you in class.